So Donald Trump is really upset with Karl Rove, and I'm sure that MAGA is probably hearing the name Karl Rove for the first time. Those of us who have been studying and following politics, been political junkies all of our lives, we know exactly who Karl Rove was. We know that he was the puppet master behind George W. Bush. We know that he was pretty much the Jeff Dunham to the stupid W puppet that we had to live under for 8 years. But I'm sure to people in MAGA who just tuned in to this WWE style circus that they love so much, they're probably over there going, "Who's this Karl Rove guy? Why's he mad at Daddy for?" It's so ridiculous, but I never thought I would live in a world where I agreed with Dick Cheney, and that was pretty scary. And now I never thought I would live in a world where I would be sharing a Karl Rove clip and saying, yeah, he's got a point. But here's the thing. I think Karl Rove is straight up evil. I always have. I think he is an evil mastermind. I truly do. So was Dick Cheney, for that matter. But these men aren't stupid. And I really feel like that Karl Rove, even though I think he's evil, I don't think he's stupid. And I don't think he's ever been able to really fit in and live in that alternate reality, Jonestown style of MAGA that the rest of them just fall into. And so here he is on Fox News with Trey Gowdy, whatever the hell his name is, and they're pretty much calling out Trump. And that is a big time no-no in Jonestown, but take a look.
I would say, I want you to address the nation from the Oval Office on the issue of tariffs. No media, no questions. Explain to them exactly what you're doing, why you're doing it, and why perhaps a little bit of short-term pain is going to be worth it. Why not do that? Why not just go to the Oval Office and speak directly to the American people?
Yeah, I wish he'd done it at the beginning of this process. I think he may be at a point where the American people say, well, great, now you tell us. But it would be better. It would be better to give a formal address to the country than to make these offhand comments. I thought it was really problematic when he said, "Well, you know what? The kids, those little girls at Christmas, they don't need $30. They can do it too. And if they have to pay a couple more bucks for them, okay." Well, it sounds like Mr. Scrooge, and the ordinary American is like, "Wait a minute! I thought you were on my side. I didn't think you were on the side of saying I need to do with less." You've got plenty of money. I got to make mine stretch as far as I can. I think right now, almost more important than a White House address, is to begin to show some progress. Get a couple of trade agreements, as you know, serving in Congress. They are tough things to get done, and they're big, thick bills. But at least the president could be in a position where he says, look, we've reached an agreement with fill in the blank, India or Japan or North Korea or South Korea, and here's what we've agreed to. We've agreed that our tariffs on each other's goods and services is going to be 0 or 5%, and we're going to address the problem of, in the case of Japan, of selling U.S. beef and blah, blah, blah. But give us a sense that we are on a path to getting these.
I love how he said, you've got a lot of money and I've got to stretch mine as far as I can. I have sat and scratched my head and watched poor people vote for Trump, and I've said to myself, I understand that he empowers your hatred, and I understand that he makes you flex and feel like you're owning liberals on Facebook. But the guy is a billionaire who wouldn't wipe his nose on your Sunday best. I say that all the time because it's just the truth. He wouldn't. He looks down on the very people that votes for him, and I've never understood why that if for any other reason, just his wealth would be a turnoff to them. Because they do. They have to stretch their money and make sure that it goes as far as it possibly can. And he's up there now telling them to just cut back on everything after telling them to that he would fix it all on day one. It's truly sad to watch people just sit back and continue to fall for this. And it's even sadder that once again in this next clip, I catch myself agreeing with Karl Rove, but this is the crazy world we're living in. Donald Trump truly is delusional when it comes to gas prices. Take a look at this one.
The others, it's sort of incomplete. We're inflation. The president is, saying gas is $1.90. I just filled up my tank. It ain't $1.90, and we do not have have inflation tapped down to 2%, and we run the risk of having to jump up at least in a one-time way if these tariffs are put in place. And there's a lot of concern about the economy. The president's ratings on the handling of the economy and of tariffs are in the 30s, and his overall approval now is in the mid to low 40s, and that's not a good place to be 100 days in. Plenty of time to turn that around, but he's got to be focused on those two things I think that people wanted, which was a strong and prosperous economy and inflation being wiped out.
And that pretty much immediately stung Donald Trump pretty hard, and he ran to Truth Social to say this: I don't need to have Karl Rove of Fox News to tell me what to do. The guy's a total loser who's been wrong about almost everything. So now that's MAGA's cue to go flex and be mad at Karl Rove. But I want to make one thing perfectly clear here, folks. I'm not giving Karl Rove a pass. He is definitely a godfather to MAGA. He's definitely someone who helped to pave the way for every bit of this. But now he realizes that the day's going to come that Donald Trump isn't going to be around, and he's going to have to figure out a way to spin this to the American people. And the way that a lot of them, I predict, and I don't really like making predictions, but I can already see what they're trying to do. They're trying to distance themselves from Trump, and they're going to try to then gaslight you and tell you that they never really were for him and that they saw through him all along. They will try to act like that they were the saviors. They were the ones trying to put the toothpaste back in the tube. They were the ones trying to hold on for dear life. But don't ever be confused by Trey, Gowdy, or Karl Rove. They were people. They are MAGA. They paved the way for it. They're the reason why we're in the mess we're in today. And now they're just trying to do damage control and pull back really quick. And of course, now MAGA has new people to bark at because Donald Trump has told them to bark at it. But the one thing I want to talk about that Karl Rove said there, I do want to go back to a couple of points. First of all, Donald Trump is delusional. He's not delusional. He's clearly wrong about gas being $1.98, $1.88. He's wrong on that. He needs to be told to bring the evidence and show us the proof, and he wouldn't be able to do that. People needs to double down on this guy harder and not let him get away with these things and not let him go out on national television and just lie. And when journalists sit there and say things like, well, we're just going to change the subject or agree to disagree, you are an accomplice to this. And you also help pave the way for MAGA and for Donald Trump and everything. And the other part that I want to circle back to is the part where Karl Rove was talking about how that, Americans are looking at him going, well, we have to stretch a dime, a long ways, and you got plenty of money. That's exactly right. Donald Trump does have a lot of money. And that's how Donald Trump defines success, is by whether or not you've made a lot of money. He always talks about how we're going to be rich. That's always his main concern, is you're going to be rich. But at the end of the day, it's his billionaire buddies that just keeps getting richer. It's his own people that gets left out. I can't even talk today. That keeps getting left out in the cold. I'm not editing this. They keep getting left out in the cold. Okay, I totally had a moment. I'm totally slipping. All right. I know the trolls now are going to say Brando is absolutely slipping. He can't talk. He's stuttering. But they are. They just keep getting left out in the cold. And eventually, you would think that they would get cold. And eventually, you would think that they would start to wake up and say, hey, wait a minute. I'm having to stretch my money as far as I can. I'm struggling to make ends meet. I'm struggling to put food on my table. And this billionaire and his billionaire buddies are getting richer, while they slash all the jobs that we had and while they cut out all the wasteful spending. And suddenly we realized that it was us that they were actually cutting out. So, I think more and more people will start to wake up. I don't want to give any credit to that segment on Fox News, but Fox News does play in pretty much every place of business in my part of the world. If you walk into any doctor's office, restaurant, barbershop, whatever, you look up in the corner and there's Fox News playing. And people around here watch it like it's the gospel, and they believe it like it's the gospel. And so I truly do believe that there are a lot of people that just watches it because it's what Mama and Papa watches. That's what Mom and Dad watches. And so maybe if they look up and see something like that and see someone like Karl Rove, who they probably don't know who he is, but they see someone make that point of, you're having to stretch your money and he's not. Now he's telling you to make changes and make cuts and do without. Maybe it would at least get stuck in the back of their head a little bit. I do believe that there are people out there who are absolutely hopeless. And I think they will never be able to be reached. I do. I hate to say that, not trying to be a pessimist, but I truly do believe that there are some people you'll never be able to reach. But there are those I still believe right now, because a lot of them are still new. There's probably a lot of people that's coming into this new, that are still starting to come into this conversation. They're new at it. And they might have, started liking Trump and supporting him because a friend did, or someone they knew, or a family member did, or an uncle, or an aunt, or a mom, or a dad, or whatever. But eventually, they're going to be there in the real world, facing real world problems. And when they do, maybe those segments, even though it's still on a propaganda network, and even though those are two goons, and even though that they helped pave the way for this whole mess that we're in, maybe it will wake a few people up anyway. At least we can hope so. They're going to have to throw Trump under the bus the further we get into this presidency, and it'll be interesting to see by the time the midterms roll around. It's going to be very interesting to see, because if we were to have a blue wave and Democrats take back control, and Donald Trump then just looks pretty stupid to everybody, which already looks stupid to us. But you'll see them really then start to jump off the sinking ship then. And you'll see more of them start to throw him under the bus. So, yeah, MAGA, that's that is your cue to now flex at Karl Rove and get mad at him. But more and more people's going to have to start calling Donald Trump out, because it's pretty much going to become inevitable at some point.